hasn't been tested and maybe has some promise and maybe gets wrapped up in the hype and maybe gets a little nervous.
Credit to him, all this other stuff. And it took some politics to keep Davis as champion. You ever see guys getting to referee their own fight?
Gervonta "Tank" Davis is one of the most overrated fighters in the sport of boxing right now. And not because of his skills, but because of his resume. And resume does matter.
Joe Rogan criticized Gervonta Davis, calling him overrated and questioning how he's performed so far. He said a real champion doesn't back down when things get tough and should show clear control in the ring. According to Rogan, Davis hasn't been truly tested yet, and the hype around him is more than he's actually proven.
Overhyped. Everybody saw it. You can't get around what everybody saw. Look, it wasn't a legit knockdown like he hurt Tank. Tank did have some in his eyes, but what are you doing putting in your hair when you have a world title fight? That's crazy.
And no one want to hear about it in the middle of a fight. That no one cares. If a fly by, drop the ball, bro.
Right.
Drop the damn ball. We don't care if a fly flew by your helmet or your eyes.
Yeah, nobody gives a fuck about that.
You can't be a championship fighter and taking a knee and putting on those type of performances.
Also, what are they putting in his hair? That when he's sweating, it is dripping into his eyes. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Bro, shave your head.
Weird, right? Yeah, exactly.
Shave your head. Who cares?
Like, don't be pretty boy. You better go get this fight.
Get those braids out of there.
Yeah.
You don't need those.
Yeah.
He's a good-looking guy. He doesn't need all that crazy.
A major criticism of Gervonta Davis is the level of opponents he faces. Many boxing experts believe his team handpicks safer fighters to keep him in control and avoid real risks in the ring.
Shakur Stevenson would beat him in a close decision, and it would end up probably being a boring fight. But I think Shakur has the skills to beat Tank Davis over a long 12-round fight. Now we have Subriel Matias, who's a scary Terminator-like fighter who gives up the early rounds to come on later and drown you in those later rounds. But he's very stiff and he doesn't have very good footwork at all. I think Tank Davis will probably, box his face off for most of the 12 rounds. There might be some trouble in the late rounds. But if Tank can stay out of trouble, I think this is one of the few champions that he would beat, but I don't think he would fight him. Now we have Pitbull Cruz, who Tank already beat by a close decision, and Tank beat him with a broken hand.
Gervonta Davis has been called out for not taking on top-level opponents, leading many to question if he's really proving himself at the highest stage. A clear example is his ongoing avoidance of Shakur Stevenson, a tough and talented fighter. Fans have wanted this fight for years, but Davis hasn't taken the challenge, adding to claims that he's dodging real threats.
Cruz only had 2 weeks to prepare for this fight. I think in the rematch, Tank would take a lot more punishment and even has the potential of being beat. If Tank's not perfect for those 12 rounds, I think Pitbull Cruz wins because he's been looking a lot better since their fight and has impressed me very, very much. Now we got Devin Haney. Devin Haney is very impressive. He really has everything. He has the defensive skills, the offensive skills. He's really showing his power and strength at 140 pounds. And even though Tank has the power, right, the only guy to really give Haney trouble is a guy like Lomachenko, a southpaw with really good footwork and boxing skills. Tank Davis is not Lomachenko. So I think Devin Haney beats Gervonta Tank Davis pretty soundly and pretty easily, as long as he doesn't get caught with something crazy. Now we have Teofimo Lopez, the first guy to really beat Lomachenko and look very impressive doing it. Not only has he beat Lomachenko, but he also beat Josh Taylor, the former unified champion. Both very impressive victories, and even though he's been kind of inconsistent and doesn't fight as good when he fights lesser opponents, I think he has all the skills he needs to beat Tank Davis. He has the speed, athleticism, the counters, the blocks, everything you would need to beat Tank, right? So I have Teofimo above Tank as well. If Tank wants to be great, he's going to have to fight one of these guys. And Frank Martin isn't really going to do much for his stock. He's got to beat another champion.
Davis has often been accused of carefully choosing opponents just to keep his unbeaten streak alive. These claims grew stronger after his fight with Lamont Roach Jr., where many felt Davis's flaws became clear. The match ended in a majority draw, and Roach's toughness and skill made fans question the hype around Davis. Critics say that if Davis were truly elite, he should have beaten Roach convincingly instead of having a hard time getting the win.
That fight with Tank and Lamont Roach shows y'all how crooked Tank has been for the past several years. And the people saying, oh, Tank know Lamont and he been respected Lamont because they fought in the amateurs. Man, he was cherry picking Lamont, you know, and really thought he was going to get that win. But Lamont wasn't coming to play around. You know, he stood his ground and fought back. And to be honest, he won the fight. The rematch is going to be a knockout.
Boxing analyst Smith strongly criticized Davis for picking Lamont Roach, a smaller and lighter opponent. He said that if Davis is really as skilled as people say, he should have easily outclassed someone like Roach. Instead, Davis barely made it through their first fight, leading Smith to call him overrated. According to Smith, this showing proves Davis may not be as good as his fans think. And if he had trouble with Roach, how would he do against top-level fighters?
He's a smart dude, bro, and he said you really should have waited.
No, you should have waited. You should have waited for a little bit more time. You stuck your head out there a little too soon.
And he was right. He was absolutely positively right.
Oh, let's up. Goes Mountain! Mamma mia!
And so now here we are, him fighting this cat Roach, and I'm like, isn't this dude a like junior lightweight?
Super featherweight, moving up to lightweight. Yeah.
No, that bothers me. The reason why that bothers me is because Gervonta is too great and too skilled to be fighting dudes smaller than him. Gervonta Davis can knock out welterweights. He probably could knock out a couple of middleweights. Why are you fighting somebody smaller? Only time I approve great champions fighting smaller guys is when you're not known for your power. You're basically using your superior skill set and showing against a smaller, quicker guy that skills don't dissipate.
In boxing, a prize fighter is someone who puts money ahead of legacy. Critics say Davis fits this description, focusing more on big paydays than taking on top-level opponents to build a lasting reputation. By picking safer fights, he secures financial gain but loses respect from serious boxing fans. This strategy, according to critics, hurts the sport's competitiveness and holds back the rise of true champions.
I told y'all Gervonta Tank Davis isn't a prize fighter. I know a lot of you guys say, well, he doesn't fight for belts, he doesn't fight for legacy, he fights for money. He's a prize fighter, Jerry. And I'm going to assume a prize fighter is a guy who is solely making fights based off of cash reward. He'd rather fight a bum for $50 million than fight a guy who's experienced for $10 million. That is what a prize fighter would be. Actual definition, a professional boxer who competes in matches for money prizes. So let's take a look at it. Turki Al-Sheikh has declared he wants to make Tank versus Shakur. He says, my plan for Shakur is this fight. He's referring to Floyd Schofield, then Williams Zepeda, and then let's see if Tank wants to be in our show. Tank's not going to fight Shakur. He's not going to fight him in Saudi Arabia. So now that we've established Tank isn't a prize fighter, because if he was, his career resume would look a whole lot different, then we must ask, what is Tank's goal in boxing? I'll tell you right now, it's easy money. Tank is the type of guy, he'd rather fight, let's say, 4 Lamont Roaches for $20 million than fight 1 Shakur Stevenson for $80 million, which is fine. But I'm tired of people saying, oh, he's a prize fighter, that's why he's not taking these fights. He's not a prize fighter. The biggest money fights is Haney, Ryan, Tio, Shakur, and Loma. He's not even going to take half of those fights. So please, guys, all my Tank fans, all my guys who claim Tank is a prize fighter, that's why he's not fighting for the belts, please stop it. This guy's not a legacy fighter. He's not a prize fighter. He's just a guy who enjoys easy paydays. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. Just stop misleading people with your comments.
Many people in the boxing world feel the sport is becoming more rigged, with politics now influencing results more than actual skill. Both fighters and fans have voiced concerns about biased judges, unfair promotions, and outcomes that seem designed to favor popular, money-making boxers instead of the most talented ones. This has caused a rise in doubt about how real and fair championship fights truly are.
Like, boxing's pretty rigged overall.
Yes, Rick, dude. I mean, so many politics, even with, MMA, man, there's so many politics. There's no more art anymore. It's just, let's get an influencer in there. I get it. It's like generating money because our attention span is so short. You look at clips now, it's like 7 seconds. I saw a dude slamming a lady the other day and they were like, oh my God, that dude is, I'm like, well, what the do? I'm just gonna pick somebody and slam them. Where's the whole video? And our attention span is just so small. So money talks, of course. Yeah, let's get an influencer in there who has no style, but it draws attention. It's just dumb to me.
Joe Rogan has also called out corruption in boxing. He says the sport is amazing, but only when the results aren't influenced by behind-the-scenes deals. According to him, many fights are decided before they even begin, which ruins the spirit of true competition. Rogan's view echoes a growing concern that today's boxing puts business first and fairness second.
People always say like boxing is a very effective martial art. Sure, if we make an agreement that I'm not going to pick you up and throw you on the ground, or if you make an agreement I'm not going to kick your legs out from under you. There's a great video of this Russian guy fighting this boxer, and it's a boxing versus Muay Thai fight, and it's hilarious to watch because the guy comes in trying to box and he's just getting his legs destroyed. He never gets a chance to set his feet, and then he gets head kicked and then chopped out, and then this is the end of it. He's like eventually like, what the man? And that guy's not walking for days, by the way.
Well-known boxing trainer Robert Garcia shared his thoughts on a crucial moment in the Davis versus Roach fight, the 9th round when Davis took a knee. Garcia said referees need to take action when a fighter goes down without a clear reason like a low blow. Since boxing rules don't allow a fighter to call a timeout during a round, Davis's move was seen as questionable. Garcia believes the referee should have stepped in and dealt with it differently.
And should it have been a disqualification?
Look, it could have easily been a disqualification too, or a referee stops contest. Because look, there's no way a fighter could take a timeout and go get his, during the round. There's no way a fighter could say, okay, timeout, because he took a knee like a timeout kind of thing, and walk to his corner to wipe his face. That's fucking unheard of and never seen before. There's no way that's legal in boxing. It shouldn't have. When a fighter, we just seen it recently with Espinosa and Rubesis. Rubesis got hit with the right hand, and then he walks back and walks away, and the red right away wiped it off.
That happened with Lara versus Angulo.
Exactly. It's over. It's over. So Tank doing that, took a knee. It should have right away. The ref should have started, counting as a knockdown. But he still walks away to his corner. I'm actually, surprised that the ref didn't call it a knockdown because he's a really good ref.
Willis is a really good ref.
Willis is a great ref, one of the best in boxing right now, and that was a big mistake. He should have counted as a knockdown. Like I told you, I wouldn't have been surprised if when he walked away, if he would have just waved it up, because that's walking away from the fight. Because of the odds, okay, well, during the break, tell the corners to wipe it out. And you can't do that when the fight's going on. There's no way, nothing. You can't do that when the fight's going on. You can't time out, take a knee, and walk away. There's just no way. But it is boxing, and a lot of things happen in boxing.
Joe Rogan also spoke out about the controversy in the Davis versus Roach fight, questioning if the rules were applied fairly. He said the officiating felt more like a deal crafted by lawyers than a real sporting contest. Rogan's comments reflected the frustration of many fans who believed Davis got special treatment from the officials.
One permitted slap of their opponent. If the return strike results in a KO or TKO finish of their opponent, the match is declared a draw. If the return strike has any other result, the match result stands. That's crazy. So you can get KO'd, you get finished, they give you 2 minutes to come back, and if you could knock that guy out, then it's a draw.
They also haven't used the rule yet.
So you go knockout for knockout.
Boy, that rule looks like it's written by lawyers, doesn't it? Doesn't that rule look written by lawyers? So find out what's happening, because I think they were going to announce something today about Lamont Roach, Gervonta Davis decision on the knockdown.
Boxing commentator Showbiz the Adult was sharply critical of Davis's performance. He noted that Davis had veteran trainer Calvin Ford in his corner and plenty of time to prepare, so there was no excuse for how poorly he fought. With that level of training and support, Showbiz argued, Davis should have put on a much stronger and more dominant display.
You don't know exactly how the fight would have played out if it was ruled a knockdown real time. All right, Gervonta would have definitely changed his approach, and so would Lamont Roach. So you can't really say that everything would have remained the same. So you can't overturn it.
Coach Bernie also gave his take, saying Davis didn't defend his title the way a true champion should. He pointed out that Lamont Roach showed more urgency and drive, while Davis looked content just to get through the rounds. This made people question Davis's mindset and whether he really has the heart of a champion.
Exactly. He's a champion. He got to defend his title. He like I said, they both was looking at each other. And then finally, after Tank will be the one to throw the first punch. He you know, he felt like he wanted to retain his title. Lamont Roach felt like he was just happy to be there and get the success. He wasn't trying to take the title. He wasn't trying to take the title. And I'm saying that even from the last round, just even the last round, the final 20, 30 seconds of the last round, he wasn't throwing no punches. He looked at him and got caught with a jab. You can't close the show with a guy like that, with a guy like Tank Davis like that. Now, if he'd have had a knockdown or something, like a real knockdown or something, you know, maybe he feeling, but you can't stop until the bell ends. You can't, even if you're being active and slipping and sliding and something, he just standing there looking at him. I don't know. I didn't understand that. I don't understand why fighters sit there and look at each other for a long time. Change the angle. Keep a rhythm in your way. Snap a jab. Do a feint. Ain't no need of you standing there looking at no man for 20 seconds in a fight. That don't make sense. But so I think, like I say, Lamont Roach, he will be kicking himself in the ass that he didn't do more, but grateful that he did enough.
Paulie Malignaggi claimed that Davis kept his title because of politics, not performance. He suggested that behind-the-scenes decisions had more to do with Davis staying on top than his actual ability in the ring. Many fans agreed, saying Davis's team carefully plans his career to protect his unbeaten record.
For me, Tank Davis fighting a minus 1600 as your main event odds is crazy to me, dude. That's crazy. That underdog lived up to the hype. He ended up, overperforming. Lamont Roach, credit to him, all this other stuff. And it took some politics to keep Davis as champion. You ever see guys getting the referee their own fight? Dude, anybody else takes that knee, you're getting counted, bro. The referee, actually, his instinct, if you watch that, the referee's instinct was to count. If you notice, Steve Willis started counting, and then he looked at the timekeeper outside the ring, wasn't counting, and he stopped counting. So you get to call your own timeout. Earlier in the fight, if you saw that shoulder barge that Tank did to Roach in the clinch, he didn't get a warning, but Roach's reaction got the warning. This is the politics we're dealing with. You keep doing this, you're looking at short-term money and long-term destruction of a sport.
After the fight with Roach, many fans began to question if Davis is really as good as his reputation claims. Watching a lesser-known opponent push him so hard made people think he might be overhyped. If Davis had that much trouble with Roach, fans wondered how he'd perform against top-level fighters. This sparked growing doubt about how skilled he truly is.
So the Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach rematch is being targeted for June 21st in Las Vegas. Now, it's good that they're running it back without wasting any time, because Roach absolutely deserves a rematch. I thought he outboxed Tank the last time around. He came up a division as a gigantic 10-1 underdog, and he was the one on the front foot, landing his jab, the body shots, the combinations, throwing a lot more volume. I had it 7-5 Roach, and the no knockdown in round 9 was the reason it was a draw. If that knockdown was scored, that would have been a decision for Roach. But with all that being said, I do like Tank a lot more in the rematch. I thought he fought way too much on the back foot in the first fight, especially the first few rounds. He would land 1 or 2 punches per round, but as he started becoming the aggressor in the later rounds, he kept landing a lot more left hands and body shots. So Tank just needs to make this a dogfight, get into more exchanges, and that's where he'll land a lot more punches on Roach. When he's sitting on the back foot waiting for a counter, that's where Roach is comfortable and winning most of the rounds. So if Tank can fight the same way he did against Ryan Garcia, rounds 3 to 7, against Mario Barrios in the later rounds, or Frank Martin rounds 4 to 8, if he's the one on the front foot, then I do think he'll stop Roach in the rematch.
Boxing fans and analysts believe Davis will likely avoid a rematch with Lamont Roach. This view comes from his past habit of skipping tough rematches, like not giving Ryan Garcia a second fight. Critics say Davis chooses opponents he's confident he can beat instead of taking on risky challenges. This ongoing pattern adds to the belief that his unbeaten record is being carefully protected.
We will never see that fight happen again. It just will not happen. Gervonta Tank Davis doesn't like hard fights. It's that simple. We've seen it over and over. He fought a Ryan Garcia drained. He fought a very inexperienced Rolly Romero. He will not fight Devin Haney. He will not fight Shakur. He will not fight Pitbull Cruz again. He will not fight Lamont Roach again. He will not fight Tefimo. He will not fight Inao. He will not fight those guys. That's just not who Tank is.
That's all for today's video. Make sure to stay tuned for the next one.